I'm Ed Murrow. The name of the program is Person to Person. And again tonight we'll be doing a little informal visiting. We'll be going to visit that talented young actress and singer, Eartha Kitt, and then across town for a visit with that hotel man, business executive, and New York State Boxing Commissioner Bob Christenberry. We'll be ready to go in exactly 20 seconds.
Long distance, Maine to Florida.
The American Oil Company, the drillers who produce oil, the scientists who refine it, the seamen who transport it, the men who deliver it, and the Amoco dealers who serve you. All the Amoco people calling you person to person.
If you own a radio or a television set, listen to record players or jukeboxes, you've probably heard the voice of Eartha Kitt. Until about 2 years ago, she was comparatively unknown, although she had danced with the Katherine Dunham Group here and abroad for a number of years. But then Eartha Kitt came to Broadway. She was the star of New Faces, and today, the 26-year-old girl from a town called North in South Carolina is getting ready for a Broadway play. She sold more than 2 million records and is one of the 10 favorites of the jukebox fans. Eartha Kitt now lives in the 3-room penthouse of this building on Riverside Drive. Her apartment is near Grant's Tomb, overlooks the Hudson River and New Jersey's Palisades. She's lived here now for 3 years, but because of her work in this country and abroad, she hasn't spent more than about 6 months at home. Eartha Kitt did 6 hours of rehearsing today, but now it's over with, at least for today. Good evening, Miss Kitt.
Oh.
How are you? How are you?
Thank you. Oh, I'm fine.
What were you listening to?
Oh, I was listening to some of the songs that I was rehearsing this afternoon from Mrs. Patterson. Of course, with the rain and everything, you know, things aren't functioning properly tonight. And I think that I didn't give the machine a chance to get heated.
Well, I hope we didn't interrupt you. Let's see if we can heat it up again. Do you have anything more on that tape machine?
Well, yes.
Let's give it another try.
As a matter of fact, let's reverse it and see what happens.
We're getting a great burst of silence.
It's kind of strange after all that devil talk.
Oh, that doesn't sound like the Eartha Kitt I've heard.
Mrs. Patterson.
Oh, there.
Mrs. Patterson, Mrs. Patterson. She looks like a rainbow when she's dressed up fit to kill. And even though you say no, I'm sure I always will love Mrs. Patterson.
Tell me, do you usually rehearse your songs at home?
Well, not usually. I just put them on the tape to see what it sounds like, because in this particular play I'm supposed to be 15 years old.
Uh-huh.
And you see, the voice has to be a little higher than my voice is ordinarily.
Well, I've been reading some conflicting comments about your voice. One critic says that she can make a song burst into flame, and another says she's virtually voiceless, and the third says she can sing with the ferocity of a camp meeting shouter. How would you describe your voice?
Well, I've never really stopped to try and psychoanalyze my voice. I think I've been mostly interested in what other people think of my voice. And I think that it's one of those things where if I try to psychoanalyze it myself, I would probably be revealing too much. And I like to leave things to the imagination of the other person, if you know what I mean.
I do. Now, in this new play, Mrs. Patterson, do you just sing an occasional number, or do you have a big part?
Well, I sing about 4 or 5 songs. They were written by Jimmy Shelton. And as a matter of fact, I'm on stage all the time. I only go off for about 2 seconds and I come right back on again. So it's quite a large part.
Mm-hmm. Does this play have any relationship to your own life?
Well, as a matter of fact, it does, because I was born, as you said, in North. And my life was more or less like the part of Teddy. And I remember when I was a child, I longed, too, to get out of a small town and go to the big town like New York and try to live a better life and, live more comfortably than I was living in North.
Well, a moment ago, I saw your panda friend. Is that for decoration, a gift, or just a gag?
Oh, well, it's all three, Ed. It was a gift, as a gag, and I use it for decoration.
Do you have any other animals around the house?
Oh, yes, I have other little things. They're little presents that were given to me by fans. And you know how fans are. They're constantly giving you little things, and for some strange reason or the other, people think that I should have cats.
Uh-huh.
And this is one of them. And this is another. This is a little puppy, for instance. And this is a little clown that someone gave me as I walked out of the stage door one evening.
You've got a real cat around somewhere, too, haven't you?
Oh, yes, but she's never seen so many people in her life today, so she's in hiding.
Tell me, in your last 2 years, your big years in show business, did you ever have a night when everything seemed to go wrong?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact, I did. I think the most drastic thing that has happened to me in my career in the nightclub was when I was at Levian Rose. As a matter of fact, I have a shoe here that was mainly responsible for the accident that I had at Levian Rose. It's this shoe that was made in Paris with the steel heel, etc. And I remember I was dancing during one of my numbers, and they had waxed the floor, and I didn't know it. And I made a turn, and I fell flat on my face.
Well, that sounds like a considerable disaster. What about your biggest success?
Well, I think that the biggest success I had was probably at the Macambo in Hollywood. Closing night there was my first engagement outside of New York, and Charlie Morrison presented me with a number of wonderful presents. And I was on stage, I remember, and it was after 3 of the songs, that is a group of songs at the show. And, well, after the 3 songs, the waiters came up on stage with bouquets of roses. Each one of them had an armful of roses, and they presented them to me. And with all the wonderful things that Charlie Morrison had done for me, I was sort of emotionally wrapped up anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw these roses, well, I went into tears, and I tried to start my singing again, and I broke up again, and first thing I knew, the pianist was crying, the public was crying, the orchestra was crying, Charlie Morrison was crying. We all had a wonderful tear party.
Well, have you pretty much planned your career, or have you found that luck and fate has been a determining factor?
Well, no, I haven't really planned my career. As a matter of fact, I don't believe in planning anything too thoroughly, because one is often very disappointed when he's gambling on something so closely. As a matter of fact, one of the examples of luck, and it's a matter of luck, I suppose, among other things, like being in the right place at the right time. I remember when I first came back from Europe, I was around New York trying to get myself together, wondering what am I going to do next, how am I going to get a job, and I was supposed to go into the Blue Angel to do a couple of songs to see if the public liked me or not, and if they liked me, then I would get a job, and if they didn't, then I would start all over again. I was supposed to do this on a Saturday night. On a Friday, I got an urge of something said to me, why don't you go back to Paris? Well, I had just enough money to get a ticket for a boat, and enough money to get me across on the boat. And I arrived in Paris the following week, just in time to find out that Orson Welles had been looking for me, because he had seen me in a nightclub there previously, and he had been looking for me to play opposite him in his production of Faust. What could be more lucky than being in the right place at the right time?
Hmm. Well, I know you must get a lot of mail from youngsters asking for advice about their careers and so forth. What do you tell them?
Well, it's very difficult to advise people. I don't think that it is possible to advise people, because I believe that if you want something badly enough, your animalistic instincts will teach you and show you what your next move should be. And, of course, I answer every letter that I get, and my only advice is, if you want something badly enough, you'll figure out how to get it.
What's the hardest work you ever did?
Well, I think the hardest work I did was when I was about 15. or maybe a little earlier than that, maybe 14, I had a job working in a factory in Brooklyn. And it had to do with machines that made emblems for soldiers' uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And another machine of the same kind that made little Swiss embroideries. You know, the little Swiss holes that you have in materials?
Yes.
And my job was to see that all of these bobbins were filled properly, that they never gave out of thread, and also to see that, well, it was very complicated. I can't even explain it to you, because there were thousands and thousands of little teeny-weeny bobbins, and this machine must have been at least a mile long. At least it seemed that way to me. And I had a little flashlight that I went up and down this machine, looking to see if the bobbins were finished or needed rethreading.
That must have been a soul-destroying job, but that's a long way from that picture I've been seeing just the bottom of there on the wall, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, that picture was done by Lady Bird Cleveland. She brought it to me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she did it all from a couple of photographs that she had of me. She had never met me before, and I think she did a pretty good job because she has a lot of characteristics in it of me, and I don't think it's bad at all, do you?
I like it very much indeed. Eartha, I've heard you talk about your desires for a Cadillac car, a mink coat, a little yacht, and lots of loot and so forth. What do you actually collect?
Well, I like paintings. As a matter of fact, I have one in here that's very interesting. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
This one was painted by someone in Canada, and it was done through a friend of mine who was in Canada at the time. And I recorded a song of his a couple of months ago. Oh, maybe it was a year ago. I don't remember exactly. A song called African Lullaby.
I don't believe I've heard it. How does it go, Eartha?
Oh, well, let's see. All over Africa, each baby's ma and pa sings him a love song, da-da-da-dee-da. Well, you know, and then it goes into Swahilian and all that sort of thing.
Tell me, how many languages have you picked up in your travel?
Well, I've picked up, je parle en français, je parle italien, je parle espagnol, toutes les choses comme ça. Aussi turc, etc., 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 and others, of course.
Tell me, do you ever get fed up with your busy schedule, all the rehearsals and recordings and pictures and so forth?
Well, if I said that I didn't get fed up once in a while, I don't think I would be telling the truth. As a matter of fact, yes.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, I have no plans, really. I'm going to do this play that opens in Detroit around the 18th. We'll be in Detroit for 3 weeks, and in Chicago for 7 weeks. And we're scheduled to be here at the National Theater beginning December 1st.
Well, much good luck. Thank you very much for letting us come to visit you, Eartha Kitt.
Thank you very much.
It's been very pleasant. In just a moment, we will be going over for a visit with Bob Quisenberry.